Luke 15, 11 verses 32. Jesus continued to the parable and said, "A man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to their father, 'Give me the share of the estate that is coming to me.' So the father divided up the property between them. Some days later, the younger son gathered up his belongings and went off to a distant land. Here he squandered all his money on a loose living. After everything was spent, a great famine broke out in the land, and the son was in great need. So he went to a landowner who sent him to a farm to take care of the pigs. The son was so hungry that he could have eaten the husks that were fodder for the pigs, but no one made a move to give him anything. Coming to his senses at last, he said, 'How many hired hands at my father's house have more than enough to eat? Well, here I am starving. I'll quit and go back home and say, I've sinned against God and against you. I no longer deserve to be called one of your children. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' With that, the younger son set off for home. While still a long way off, the father caught a sight of the returning child and was deeply moved. The father ran out to meet him, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'I've sinned against God and against you. I no longer deserve to be called one of your children.' But his father said to one of the workers, 'Quick, bring out the finest robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and shoes on his feet. Take the calf we've been fattening and butcher it. Let's eat and celebrate. The son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and now he is found, and let the celebration begin.' Meanwhile, the elder son had been out in the field. As he neared the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing. He called one of the workers and asked what was happening. The worker answered, 'Your brother is home, and the fattened calf has been killed, because your father has him back safe and sound.' The son got angry at this and refused to go in to the party. But his father came out and pleaded with him. The older son replied, 'Look, for years now I have done every single thing you asked me to. I never disobeyed even one of your orders, yet you never gave me so much as a kid goat to celebrate with my friends. But then this son of yours comes home after going through your money with prostitutes, and you kill the fattened calf for him?' 'But my child,' the father said, you're with me always, and everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate and rejoice. This brother of yours was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, and now he is found.'"
A little more than a decade ago, George and I participated in a whitewater rafting trip with the Recreation Department of Syracuse University with other students who were along, and we were the adults on the trip. One of our jobs was to count. We were in 2 buses, and it was pouring rain, and so we did what the director said not do. We let people get on the buses first. And we could never get the number right. For one bus could not count. And we tried and we texted and called back and forth, and we thought we had the right number. We get to the whitewater rafting site, and our guides are doing their work, and we are missing one release form. And so we started to count. We went as far as to having everyone count off. We thought we had it right. But then again, no, the guide said, "You're missing one." And so they called out every name. One student finally was left standing with no release form. So we all determined she was the problem. She filled out the paperwork. We went whitewater rafting. And when we got back for lunch, the woman had already filled out a form, and now we had 2 extra forms, but not the right count. So finally, before we left, the plan was devised. Only people could go out one door, and we would call out one name for each sheet of paper, and I was going to stand outside at the other entrance to make sure no one exited or entered through that, and we'd finally figure it out. Well, we did. And we were one student short. But the student was with a friend visiting from another university and always just went with their other friend wherever she went, but never counted. It was a frustrating experience of counting. Now, are there any math teachers in the room? I see. Oh, good. We have at least 3, if I counted correctly. And after today, we may need a tutorial on math. In high school, I loved math. I even loved geometry. But one thing I never quite mastered was proving triangles. We were supposed to list so many and then give a proof what it was. I never could figure that quite out. Frustrated on one exam, I wrote, "It is a triangle because it is." No points counted for that one. So there was a shepherd with 100 sheep. After counting up to 99, which I think would be quite a feat, because I don't know if sheep are always just sitting there and not moving around, but there was determined one sheep was missing. And so the shepherd takes upon oneself to go find the other sheep. But what the challenge is, which I think we miss in Scripture sometimes, is it says, the shepherd left the other 99 sheep in the open pasture. No gates, no way to corral them in. It's open. The sheep can go and come as they please. So who knows, after the one has come back, should you recount all over again? What happens if you only have 97 now? Some scholars say that counting in parables, or just parables in general, are somewhat like a riddle. Much like proving triangles, if you ask me. But you see, the thing is, we count today's parable often as 3. The parable of the lost sheep, the parable of the lost coin, then the parable of the one lost son. Scholars tell us it's all one big parable, all 32 verses. The first 2 help set up the third. So there was a shepherd. Then there was a woman who had 10 silver coins. She lost 1. Now here is a little bit of debate. Some translations calls there was 10 drachma, the 10 silver coins. And depending on who you ask and their expertise on Greek and the nuances, some will say it's worth not much. Others would say it was 2 drachma that the Samaritan gave for the man who had been left half dead. 2 drachmas was enough to acquire 1 night's lodging. So it's not quite worthless. But even some would go even further in saying a drachma, or that 1 silver piece, was like losing a year of wages. Whether it was the stock market that dropped, or foolish living, or however you count, you just didn't quite count. Your checkbook didn't balance and you never noticed. So it's not like you just lost a penny. It could be worth a year of your retirement savings. But the challenge is a woman lost 1 silver piece. And we often make women a little lower or less, or even sometimes in Scripture we may play them off as being a little bit not quite with it, not as astute as a man in counting. Well, first of all, any woman or any person during this period of time, if they had 10 silver pieces and it was worth 10 years of wages, that's quite a bit of money to have. And the woman too was a householder. This woman was not poor. This woman owned a house, had 10 silver coins, and whether it was 10 years worth of savings or enough for 5 days lodging for the man that had been left half dead and the Samaritan brought to the inn, that's a lot of money. But so far, have you gotten it? A shepherd lost, a woman lost, and then there was a father, a man, who had 2 sons. And this is where we stumble. Because Scripture never tells us that the father had lost 1 or 2 sons. It's just there was a father with 2 sons. It's again counting. But this time it is the father who has lost. And we miscount here. There was a father who had 2 sons and lost 2 sons. Because the father forgot to count. And we too forget to count sometimes. For, yes, the one son comes and says, "Give me my half of the inheritance." And the father does so. And for all we know, he counted it exactly right. This one got half, and the other one would have half. The one son goes out, comes back after losing it all, and the father welcomes the son home. It says, throw a feast. But then there is a feast, and the other son that the father has lost has been there all along, out in the field. And it's the son who hears the partying going on and pulls one of the servants aside and says, "What's going on?" And he said, "Oh, your brother is back." Imagine if you had been the child who didn't even know your brother had come home. Your father had not told anyone to tell you that your sibling was back, but didn't even invite you to the party. How often when we count that we forget to count those who are just already around us. Sometimes we live in a world or in families or the circumstances where we put all our attention on one child and forget about the other. For this other child may make good grades. This other child may do everything that's right. And when we celebrate the achievements of one, we forget the other. Counting is hard work. So a shepherd lost 1 sheep. A woman lost 1 coin. A father lost 2 sons. And this is where we misread parables. For we often make the God figure the shepherd, the woman, the father. But there's not quite the way it should be. For God never loses count of us and never will. God doesn't lose us at any point in our lives. We may feel lost, but to God, we are not lost, for we always count. And when I say we, I mean everyone. Everyone here, everyone who listens, everyone in the world, God has not lost, and God counts as valued and secured. So, when we are all found by those of us who lose count, and we rejoice, we should remember that God has rejoiced from the days that each person was born, and this person counts. And God, throughout each stage in our lives, will never lose count. Do you need help counting? Surely I do at times. For all earth and creation matters. And let us not lose count.